Ooh.
Much better.
Sounding crispy. Looking crispy. Hey. Getting tipsy off Starbucks energy drinks. This is Lil MC.
This is Unlearn the World.
And you're listening to Ratchet and Woke. Ratchet and Woke. Ratchet and Woke. Ratchet and Woke. Ratchet and Woke.
Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it.
Today we gotta be very animated so that the lights don't think that we're gone.
Oh, yes.
So
very animated.
I'm gonna be like one of those.
A lot of motion.
Car lot.
Motion
bros.
creates emotion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Indeed. You know the vibes. Ratchet and Woke podcast, Unlearn the World, Lil MC. We are here. We're rocking. Catch us on all the streaming services, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Check us out on where are we?
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube.
And YouTube. YouTube's a new thing.
Yeah, YouTube.
We haven't been on YouTube
our
before.
Beautiful faces.
Yeah.
Can they see our beautiful faces on the other things too?
Nah.
I think you can. I don't. Honestly, we gotta do more research. We're so under investigated, but
yeah. You're the one who says production is like contrived.
Production is not construction. Okay, we don't need a floor plan.
You still need a plan.
You do.
Any case.
I mean, it's like, okay, this is what I think. It's like you can wait forever to execute on something because you have a million excuses.
You can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
That was fire.
Yeah. So, but we're here nonetheless. Check us out wherever you listen to streaming, podcast, and YouTube as well. We're doing it.
Figure it out yourselves. What
you know
are
what I'm saying?
we?
At this point, you should know. Like, I don't even know why I'm even having this conversation. Moving forward, though.
Hey, since we're like the most transparent pod in the world, I'm gonna let you know. Well, just as far as like, what's it called when you release the third wall, like where you.
We're talking into the audience. We're not talking amongst ourselves.
Yeah,
we talk
just
to the
the reason
also.
why I'm saying is that we're clipping right now. Do we care about that?
We should care about that, but
okay.
I can fix that in post.
Oh, Post Malone over here. Okay.
There we go.
Anyways, we're gonna get started from our sponsors. Shout out Thug Thistles. Thug Thistles. Let me tell you a little bit about Thug Thistles.
You tell them about Thug Thistles.
Lillian Hanson, one of my BFFs, told me that milk thistle is the best cure for hangovers.
Because it cleans the liver.
It does, yeah. Now, I no longer drink, but back in my heyday, which was not that long ago, I was throwing them back. You know what I'm saying? So I would just pop a little milk thistle, go on my merry way, and wake up like a golden goose god. Not always, but sometimes. It really depended on the combo. So I was like, man, this is like a really well-kept secret. So I need to create my own. Instead of Thug Thizzles, don't take thistle pills anymore, people. Who knows what the heck is in those things? Take a thistle. Thug Thistles.
Random and not true sponsors. Thank you.
No, it's my product. So if anyone tries to steal it, I will hunt you down and kill you.
All right. If you get some orders from this, I'd love to see how you fulfill those.
Well, orders. I need to create them.
There we go.
But also just be aware, I am an animal rights activist, but if you make me...
Would you throw paint on people wearing fur? Would you be one of them?
That's just a lot of work.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I think I would just shame them.
There was a PETA activist at a Pharrell event, and she was like badgering him and like disrupting the whole thing.
Well, that's really rude, Pharrell. Why are you wearing fur? Ew, I'm just gonna boycott you. No, I would take more of an Ace Ventura approach, where I'd punch you in the face and then wear you around and go la-di-dee, la-di-da.
And that's supposed to be activism for the animals?
Hell yeah.
Okay.
I'll wear the humans as fucking fur.
Oh, because you prefer prefer animals to humans.
I don't like cruel humans. Let me get this right. I'm here for the rights of the people. But if you're a cruel person, I'm more likely to go for blood for you than ever go for blood to an animal, because animals are innocent. Even a shark, which you know I'm... Okay, anyways... I digress. Let's get into some real things.
Let's get into let's get into some shit. All right, let's go.
Okay, so this past week we started a program over in Willow Elementary School
in
Napa, which really, what we're doing with these kids is they're creating personal statement pieces, and we're sent in there to
personal narratives.
Yes. Sorry, and we're transforming those into poems or songs. And while we were in there, we were talking about how, you got to be kind of careful when you expose children to these topics where you're asking them to explore like really deep emotions.
Yeah, like when you're encouraging them to share an experience in their life.
Well, like a really difficult experience.
Adverse.
Yeah,
Yes.
an adverse experience. And the whole prompt was like, describe a moment in your life where you felt like an earthquake, a flood, or a tornado, or all these different natural disasters. And so as we're with these kids and we're reading their personal statements or their personal narratives, they're really sad. You know, it's like they're talking about, my dad got taken away. I don't know where he is. My dad died. There was gunshots and my neighbor got shot. And I'm just like, and they're just like, we're like, hey, who here would like to share their narrative? Mine's about, you know, and it's just like these really dark, deep topics from these elementary school kids. But it just got me thinking that, you know, I just like see a huge transformation in academics and how we're really undervaluing art, not realizing how valuable and necessary art is for growing kids to be able to express themselves. And it just makes me think about a future where we're like sitting in a classroom, and since we undervalue so much and they're just going straight into learning the quadratic formula and never get a chance to like express themselves and what that can do for you. You know,
here's the reality. The reality is that arts, culture, and creativity in schools, as long as I've been alive, has always been downplayed. It is the first category of funding that is cut whenever there are budget cutbacks. And on the one hand, it actually creates great opportunities for hip hop artists like ourselves who do education work, because in lieu of actual music programs in schools, they bring us in as contractors.
Yeah, no.
So there's that. So some schools recognize the value of it, but then at the same time, it's like, and in this particular case, I gave them a warning, because in the past, I've always been asked to facilitate these things, and they're asking these kids to bring up these kind of topics. And I'm like, you want to avoid that because you don't know what you're stirring up.
You're not a licensed therapist. I mean,
exactly.
That's the danger of anyone going.
Yes.
Like, if you're not a licensed therapist or a social worker or someone with experience, like, you should not really be like pulling the lid off this. But a lot of teachers don't even think about that. We've worked with tons of teachers that are just like constantly asking you, tell me about your worst, most traumatic experience in your life. And there's just a lot of dangers to doing that. Because
and the crazy thing is, like, most teachers or educators are supposed to be mandated reporters. So they're not connecting the fact that, like, if they tell you something, you now have to do something.
I mean, and I've seen them do it. I've had to read some really terrible poems. And it's like, if they're choosing to, if they want to confide in me, then I'm grateful for that opportunity for them to confide in me. And then I have to, you know, do my due diligence and be a mandated reporter as well. But I think requiring them to do that is dangerous. And I think, I don't know, we were just talking to those teachers and they were like, wow, it's so awesome when you guys come in because they're really paying attention and it really translates and they're able to really connect with you. And we as teachers, like, it's hard for us to get them to sit still and pay attention and focus, and we end up being hyper disciplinary.
Well, what I was explaining to the teacher who had that conversation with us is that they often have to mix what we call Common Core standards, right? Which is what the state or the federal government is requiring teachers to teach. And they have to reconcile that with what they know could be effective. Right. And if they're taking culture and art out of schools, and that's what kids are identifying with, and that's what kids can engage in, then it becomes really hard. Then you're left to the personality of the actual teacher. And a lot of teachers don't really have personality like that.
Well, it's also like teachers are drastically underpaid. And to be like, hey, you need to be good at teaching these kids. You also need to be entertaining. It's a lot. I mean, I think it's exhausting even just for us to come into classes for 1 hour and do what we do. And so I can only imagine being drastically underpaid and doing that 40 hours a week in classrooms.
Or more than 40 hours a week. Right, I mean, they're like working on their own time. They're buying supplies with their own money and shit. Like,
it's just crazy. It's really devastating for me, but it also makes me really grateful that we're able to like have experiences with kids and get, you know, I think it's the most rewarding thing when you see kids really get in their bag and start writing, and all the inspiration just starts flowing, and they're super grateful, you know, they're just super grateful to have a space where people are listening to them. And yeah, so I don't know, I just wanted to speak on
and just like a heads up, like, creativity is therapeutic, but it is not therapy.
Yeah.
You need to be a clinician. You need to be a licensed clinician to do therapy work. And that's the danger. Like, you don't want to pop up. You don't want to open Pandora's box on a kid with all these issues, and then you don't have the training or the protocol to know how to put the genie back in the bottle. Mm-hmm. So just be careful out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, some other stuff that, we're really just trying to share stuff that we feel like we're semi-experts in.
Or that we do we're enthusiasts.
Yeah.
I recognize that when you say enthusiast, it's like you know a lot about it, but you're not like an authoritative voice. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So we're enthusiasts about a lot of shit.
Exactly.
But you've been taking classes with the Grammy board.
Yeah, well, it's Coursera classes offered from the Recording Academy. I love the Recording Academy. Shout out. Mm-hmm. So I've been taking some courses from like really prestigious Grammy Award winners that have built out this course. It's online, and what I'm learning right now is a lot about branding and brand development. And it just got me. There we go.
Go ahead.
And it's really, really interesting to think about, because I think as musicians we focus so much on the music and we don't realize how crucial branding is to success.
Yeah.
And so when you think about like the biggest artists in the world, they obviously made all the super cliche examples, which I wish they wouldn't do, but it's the Recording Academy. So they're like Lady Gaga and Janelle Monáe and Beyonce and whatever, and they kind of break it down, like what they wear, what they talk about, like what groups support them, and it just really gets you thinking, like as an artist, or even if you're not an artist or a podcaster, anyone that owns their own business, you have to think about things as a brand. And that starts with number one, what is your message? What is your mission? What is your vision? What colors do you use to represent yourself? How do you sound? How do you look? How do you feel? What fonts do you use? Yep. It's like all of these things. I call it creating a world, so those artists that really have palpable brands or tangible brands or really cohesive, they are world creators. Kid Cudi, I think, is a really good example of that.
Yeah,
Childish Gambino is a really good example of that. Nicki Minaj, a good example, where it's like you think of them and you're like, oh, I know what they wear, I know their style, and it doesn't have to be something like they only wear like high fashion. It could be, or like Doechie's a really good example. She's awesome. I'm like obsessed with her.
And people also have creative directors, so it's important to kind of like, you can learn the skill set to do it yourself, to articulate your vision. But a lot of the high level artists that you're talking about, I would add in context, 100%. They 100% have creative directors who do all of that.
Well, and they insist on you finding someone so that it can kind of relieve a little bit of the stress around it. But I think before you can even have a creative director, you need to be grounded in what your creative vision is and what your mission is. And so I think that's the most difficult part of an artist, when you're like, I just want to make music. It's like, well, what is the overall messaging that you're trying to convey? And I find it difficult too, because I want to do like a million things. So it's like the simpler, and like you got to imagine people are just like, they want something that they see and they understand it. Yeah. You can't be making it too crazy here.
But I think it's one of those things where it's people are often putting the cart before the horse. Mm-hmm. They want to be famous. They want to have an audience. They want to have people receive their music, but they don't know who they are yet.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So in order to articulate all of the things you're saying, I think it's important for you to at least know or have an idea of who you are or who you're trying to be.
Which is hard, because a lot of musicians are kids. And so
they start young,
exactly. You to believe that a kid knows who they are. But I think that you can, and I spoke about this on another podcast, shout out, It Can't Be That Bad. But I was saying it's okay to not have all the answers, and admittedly, state that you don't have all the answers and you're still figuring out who you are. But you can still have things that you care about and things that you fight for and things that have a cohesive message behind your music.
Totally.
And I think like Tupac's another good example. People really criticized him because he was so volatile. I think, he would go from like, Dear Mama and like Keep Your Head Up to like,
Thug Life and
exactly,
shit, exactly.
So he would go from like super hyper aggressive to like, I love women, and it was like, I fuck your bitch, like
exactly.
So but I think that those binaries and the dichotomies are actually part of branding. It's like,
it's part of human. It's just being human. You know what I'm saying?
It's like 100%. being passionate about things can be part of your branding.
Now let me ask you this. So having this conversation, what do you think? When do you think an artist who is developing themselves, who doesn't all the way know who they are or what their sound is, when do you think is a good time for them to say, okay, I'm going to take the music that I'm doing and put it out in the marketplace? Because I think it's vastly different between like, I'm an artist, I'm still discovering who I am, and I just want to create and I want to do like open mics and whatever. At what point in their development do you think, from your experience and what you know now, do you think that they should say, okay, I think I'm ready now for the public to like
Yeah.
hear this, to like do videos, to be Spotify, all that shit. Like,
yeah, I mean, you could drop music whenever you want. People don't really understand how difficult it is to get people to listen to your music.
Right.
They think that just because you put it out on Spotify, you're going to have listeners, and it's literally the opposite. You have to pull people over to listen to you, and if they're not already interested in you, then it's just not going to be there. You know, I've had different consultations with artists who are like, I want your advice, and truly what I did was I had to be on the scene. You know, you need to be outside. I think there's people that blow up from their room from SoundCloud, and you can do that too. I'm not someone that you should.
That's like hitting the lottery though. Like, it's not like a common.
I think there was a time and a place where you could do that, but I think that time has passed.
Yes,
it's too many. There's too many people now.
Well, I mean, the music industry is literally suffering for that.
Right, but there's ways that you can like. You know, you could still make it if you have a presence. So that means you have to go outside, you have to go to events, you have to book shows, you have to go to shows, touch the people, talk to them, and like really have a presence out there. Like for me, I chose the battle rap scene and the cypher scene because I was a good freestyler.
Right.
But if you're not a good freestyler, going to open mics and like just going out there and getting mixy, you have to show your face outside.
Yeah.
And if you're from a place where there's not really a big community, start the community. Like take action. You know, unfortunately, it's
part of the grind of artist development. Like doing all of the things you're talking about is part of that grind.
Exactly.
I think it's like we get to this space where artists don't really know to give artists grace. It's not that they don't want to pay dues. They don't know how to.
Yeah, and it's hard.
Yeah, we've just changed it. You know what I'm saying? And nobody's giving you kind of like the ABCs of artist development, which is ultimately what we're talking about. Record labels aren't doing it anymore. Very few production houses are actually doing it. So I think there is the opportunity area for there to be platforms that are specific to artist development. We are going to bring you in as talented as you are and help you to get to that next level
that's
without
what
being
we want to do, to be honest.
Without being like super exploitative and like all of that and then the problem is now that you're running into gatekeepers and it just becomes very weird and stupid, but like ultimately. And
then also setting the boundary of like, hey, we're here to help, but also like we're not your just because
we're not your management.
Yeah.
I'm not here to book you shows, and I'm not here to like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not here to book shows for you. And
I will
I'm not
try,
here to try to
if I can. And
or if an opportunity comes up, then it's like, oh, I know this person.
Yeah.
Right? Like I would want the same for me. If somebody's looking for a specific kind of artist and I'm in your brain, okay, then you could recommend me. But that's not their job. I'm not expecting people to do that.
And then speaking of that, oh my gosh, this is what annoys me the fucking most. I forget I can swear. I've been so media trained to not swear on radio shows.
What grinds your gears?
Yo, it pisses me off so much when people want to be like, you know, I book a lot of shows now, right?
Yeah.
And so then if you're going to come to me and be like, I'd really love to perform. It's like, have you been to one of my events? Have you even seen one?
That part.
You know, like there might be artists that I'm not necessarily like the biggest fan of, but they come and support. And so I'm going to give you a look when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
You know? And there's other artists that they've never gone to what I'm throwing, but I'm a fan of them and I think that they're talented. And so I want to book them. But if you're someone that I don't know and you're just reaching out, hey, I'd love to be on here. It's like, okay, well, first of all, come check out a Queens of the Underground show that I literally invest thousands of dollars in and work my fucking ass off for the past 4 years. Like, how about you show up and you show your face? Or like people asking for looks. Like, it's just my advice. Like, you need to really show that you support the community and you support what it is you're trying to be a part of, rather than just asking for a handout.
Like do your research. Like that's the important. Like you got to do the research on like, okay, what's the spot? What kind of artists are coming here? What is the community like before you even like go out of your way to ask the event person or the event organizer to be on the show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like support the platform without starting to ask for something immediately.
Right.
Like just support, like just be there in the scene. Be there, like get outside, be in the mix. Stop DMing people and who you've never met before to do some shit that you, like that's like you were getting it all throughout the Grammy voting season. People who you've never met, who don't follow you, who never interacted with you.
Well, that's different.
DMing you.
That's kind of like the point of, I mean, that's separate, right? Like as a recording voting member, I recognize like that's my role. Is like people are going to ask me to consider their songs. That to me is vastly different than me having a lineup and people sliding in the DMs and asking to get on the show after I've already booked it, or people
after it's already announced.
Yeah, or like it's a week about to perform, or like never having communicated or met with me. You know, it's just it's just having that
manners.
presence of mind. Yeah.
But if you don't have manners, if you're not developed as an artist to know what the manners are, what's not the conduct, what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh my gosh, I know it's escaping my brain too. The etiquette.
Etiquette.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank
Right.
God
There
we got
is
that.
a thing as artist development, and artist etiquette needs to be placed into artist development.
Yo, when I went to Cato on the Track had this really cool, oh my gosh, what was it? It was the United Masters Beat Club, I think, an event. Shout out Kayla Love. She got me a ticket to be able to go, and Cesar, who works at United, shout out the United Masters, shout them both out. But we were there and people were asking questions, and one of the questions asked, which was brilliant, was what's the best way to go about trying to like reach out to people that you want to collaborate with? And he was like, yo, just going into the DMs and saying let's work is the worst thing you could ever do. And I get it now, you know, like, because I have people doing it to me. It's like, what do you want to, what's your idea? Like, he's like, come offer something of value and come with a specific plan. Like, why do you want to work? You just want to have proximity to me, but artists can't think beyond that. Like, anytime I do anything, I'm like a hyper strategist. I'm strategizing years in advance and reverse engineering it.
But most artists of your ilk are doing that, right? And it goes back to the whole idea of cart before the horse. People just want the look. Before they know why they want the look. There's no, a lot of artists aren't asking themselves whys.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why they're just reacting. Even them going into your DMs is a reaction to your buzz.
But it's like you could do something like even then, if I have someone slide in my DMs who's been super supportive and cool to me for the past year, and then they ask if I can get a feature, I'm more likely to be receptive. I'm not always going to be receptive because, to be honest, like, I don't want to do a million features. You know, I just dropped an album. Like, I'm trying to chill. Like, doing 80 million features is not something that is what I want to do. Especially if you ain't coming with
that fatty.
Yeah, like, if you got money, I'll do all the features. Like, what?
But if you trying to expect us to just do the verse for the look.
But there's some people I love and I want to do features with them because they're the homies, you know, and I just want to work with them. But if it's people I don't really know like that, but you're cool, like, I'm more likely to be receptive or like work within your budget if you've been supportive and showing love versus someone that I have never met and I just came across and you saw me doing some dope stuff and you're like, oh, I want to just
bandwagon hop.
So
and it's really easy to tell who's bandwagon hopping and who's been supporting you and is now wanting to collab or is willing to collab. That's a big, important factor in all of this.
But anyways, the Grammy voting did happen. Oh, I skipped a thing. Oh, let's go to...
what, BET? You wanted to talk about BET?
Let's do BET first. Okay. So did you look at anything going on with BET?
I didn't see anything about the BET Hip Hop Awards, but I did see somebody post this on Twitter, which I thought was very, very interesting. It was... what they said was Hip Hop Awards don't even do ciphers anymore because nobody knows how to freestyle. Our genre has turned into a get-rich-quick scheme for people who don't even like music.
Ooh.
Right? Ooh. And I didn't even see the BET Awards, but I didn't see any good comments about it.
Well, Kendrick won 8 awards and was nominated for 11. There? I don't know. Yeah. I didn't watch it. You know, I actually don't watch award shows. You know, I think
it's part of the simulation.
But I think it's, But... I mean, I think it's important to know what the climate is as far as who's getting recognized. I think it's important that Kendrick got recognized for the impact that he had.
It would be I would be shocked if he didn't this year, right?
But then, you know me, I'm always trying to get tea. I love the drama. Fuck. Any drama that I'm not in, I'm fucking here for. You know what I mean? Just, you know, Nicki Minaj got Album of the Year for Pink Friday 2.
Are you serious?
Which I think is crazy, but there weren't really. I don't know. There's
I
know. I didn't like that album at all.
No, but to Nicki Minaj's credit, she had an amazing. Crazy. Like, she broke tour records.
Yo, if there was like tour of the year or something, like, she should have got that.
100%.
She went. She to me is I idolize her touring abilities for sure. Yeah. I didn't think that project was great. There's none of it that I went back to or saved. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm confused as to that.
But I think it has to do with her tour numbers. But I say all this to say that she has not been fucking with the BETs. So when she won, she posted like a Chucky meme. And it's because in 2019, do you remember this?
No.
When Cardi B like cleaned up. And someone from BET tweeted Nicki Minaj getting dragged by her lace front.
That's crazy.
And then Nicki was like, nobody from Young Money will be performing at the BETs ever again.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But was it somebody from BET who posted that on Twitter?
And then BET came back and apologized. Like, we're trying to do an internal audit of like who did that, and we're really sorry.
So it was somebody from BET who did that.
I guess, yeah.
Okay, that's
yeah. So she has not been fucking with them since that.
So like,
and you know,
so now they're doing it as like a please be friends. Again.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say, but I just thought it was.
Speaking of which, Future now wants to be friends with Drake again. He put out a tweet saying like, "Yo, the music business isn't the same without Metro Boomin, Future, and Drake doing songs together." So he like,
I think it's fine without them doing songs.
I need them to chill. Like Future dropped 3 albums in a year. I
don't like Future.
I need to relax.
I'm sorry. I think Future sucks. I think his beat choice is fire. I think his collabs are fire. It like him as.
I mean, he has hits. I'm not a fan of his brand of artistry overall.
I hate the mumble rap shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not. I've never been a fan of that. But I see how it's impacted. But the reason why it's impacted is because it's so simple to do.
Oh my God, I fucking hate
right? And that's exactly what this guy is speaking out. It's like, oh, you mean I can do that and get rich? Oh shit! All right, let's
it's
go.
not even
like,
people that
you know
love money, or sorry, that love music.
Yeah, it's just like there's no musicality, there's no skill.
But to be fair,
yeah,
there's never been a cipher on any award show where people are freestyling.
Well, no, of course not.
Like what? Like if he's saying like that they actually had to come with like a verse.
Well, I think a lot of purists or hip hop purists are misconstrued in that reality. Like these are artists who are professional, who are more than likely signed to labels, who when they come to a BET cipher, it's a pre-written verse that they've rehearsed 1,000. Even when you go to like Justin Incredible or LA Leakers, or they're writing these verses just so we're clear. Like they're not coming off the top of the dome.
There's some people that maybe freestyle like some parts of it.
They weave it. They mix it
freestyle.
You know what I'm saying? I deal with freestyle. Maybe Frack. Shout out to Frack. Shout
out Frack.
You know what I'm saying? He's a freestyle king. Super Nat. Like these are people who know how to freestyle.
I can tell when people are freestyling. 100%. Like it's so easy for me. That's why I almost like I get offended when I actually do a dope freestyle and people are like, "That was written." It's like, no, it wasn't. But like when I do a shitty one, then it's like whatever, you know? Because freestyle, it's like it's not always gonna hit. It's like. If the beat,
it's off the top, it's improvisational.
Yeah,
so
it's like how you feeling, what you're inspired by. Like I'm not always like.
But even then, there's a skill set. It's not even just the subject matter. There's a rhyme and reason as to how people freestyle, and everybody has their approach in terms of doing it. But like,
I call it a New York freestyle, right? It's like you go in there into a cipher, and you freestyle off maybe the last person. So you like 4 bars of freestyle.
Yeah.
Then you transition into like a written, and then you it's like you're mixing a freestyle with writtens to create a dope.
To me, to create like a dope verse. But to me, I think that takes more skill than just freestyling off the top of the head.
It's hard to do that.
Because you have to cross-reference verses that aren't on songs.
Yeah, no, I struggle.
In your own internal catalog. Like,
Shout out crazy. Next Level. We were doing a cipher, and they were like all boom bap beats, and I just don't have like heck of boom bap verses, you know? I don't really like me. So it was like everyone was spitting like some dope writtens, and I was like...
Have you ever tried to like slow down a double time rap that you've done?
It
never hits the same.
Yeah, it's not.
Never.
I rap on like really fast beats.
You love it. You love the.
I'm just like, all right.
Multi-syllable miracle.
Yeah,
I like it. It's cool.
But yeah, so BET Awards. I just wanted to touch on that because we care. I guess we don't care.
I don't really. I mean, until like the culture comes back to some shit that like I care about.
It was so hilarious that there was a post that was like, Ice Spice not rapping over vocals. Look at her go. It's like, yo, like that should be Ice. Like that should be the standard.
We need quality control in this culture.
Let me shout out Reverie too 1 second.
Okay.
Like, we were talking in an interview and she was like, I think it's super trash that people like have performances and rap over their vocals because people are paying to see you perform and you're not giving them a performance.
Right. You're just like,
so you're not even a performer. And it's disrespectful to your fans, in my opinion, because then it's like what we're setting the tone for is you as a fan are just going to see your favorite artist listen to their songs with you.
You're going to a listening party.
Yes.
You're not going to a show. You're going to a listening
because it's a different
party.
skill set.
Totally.
To record a song and to perform a song is
two
very
different things. But
it means you have to rehearse. You have to have breath control. But that's what it is. It's like this is like a marathon. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be better than everyone at making songs, writing songs, performing songs, freestyle. Like I want to do every single what's it called? Like one of those like a relay race.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to do
decathlon, like
a decathlon. That's what it is.
Exactly.
But it's like if you can only do one of those, then it's like your superpower is lame. Like.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like Mario Kart, where you have one car that's good with speed but bad at control.
Yeah.
And then the other one. So rappers are like that. Like they all have their really, really good skills, but at least they have a skill. Well, I think what we're criticizing and what we're often criticizing in our culture is the fact that 80% of y'all niggas don't even try.
Yeah.
And I'm tired, and even as an old head or whatever, I'm tired of seeing people rewarded for not trying.
Right.
And then that becomes the barrier or the criteria by which you judge skill. So if I actually try and show you that I'm trying, that's too much. Like people act like you're doing too much. Oh, he on that old school lyrical. Like, no, it's not lyrical. It's trying. It's caring about what the fuck you do. And not just coming into this culture to get a quick lick because you went viral and now you can get brand deals. It's culture vulture
bullshit.
It is. And you don't need to be white or non-black to be a culture vulture. We have plenty of black culture vultures. Let's be very fucking clear, right? When it comes to the culture of hip hop, there are a lot of people who just want to come in, get a lick, and then fucking leave, right? And then that's the problem in and of itself, is that we're quick to point the finger at non-black people or non-POC people, like the dude who did that $1 Million Baby song. Right, he's getting dragged because he came out on Twitter and saying, I'm not a hip hop artist, and the only reason he blew up is because urban music pushed him. He went viral on TikTok. Urban music pushed the record on radio, and that's why he got popping.
Well, it's not a rap song. It's not a hip hop song.
Right.
So why are we mad about that?
Because it's being promoted by hip hop platforms.
Okay, well then that's the hip hop platforms part.
But if you're not a all right. If you're a country artist and hip hop is playing your shit for whatever reason, right? But you're clearly a country artist. I can understand that. It's one thing, I think, for you to take the benefit of hip hop culture amplifying you and then going out of your way to say, I am not a hip hop artist.
But
after you've already
I don't know the context of the tweet, but I'm just saying there's nothing about that song to me that says hip hop.
And I 100% agree with you. Like that's
it's like a pop song to me.
But it's in the vein of, and I wouldn't equate it to, but it's in the vein of what Hannah Montana did or whatever. What's homegirl name?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus did when she was walking around and hanging out with Juicy J and doing trap songs and twerking on stage, and then a year later she's in a magazine saying like, "Oh, hip hop is
oh hell no, that's
like,
crazy."
You know what I'm saying? Or even Post Malone to an extent, even though I like Post Malone, but I guess my point is that we look at artists like that who are non-POC and we attack them when they do the culture vulture type shit. Not even speaking about the culture vultures in our own shit, the POC culture vultures who don't give a fuck about rapping. They really don't give a fuck about the culture of hip hop.
Well, it's the consumer's fault.
And they just want to.
But if consumers,
but the consumers are. They don't make the decisions. It's the people who market it.
I know. It's the labels and the consumers.
I mean, there's enough blame to go around.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? 100%. But I think if you're not creating a marketplace for that, then people aren't buying it. If there is some level of quality control, first within the culture, then within the industry, then you see something different. But that's the problem. That's where we are in the game. It's that there is the only thing that we're valuing are metrics.
Yeah.
And we're caught up in algorithms and we're caught in the thing, and it's the same complaints time and again, is that we are all, I literally watched, shout out to Justin Hunt, the company man. He did an amazing Zoom broadcast and live stream with Rob Markman, who's another hip hop media head. Who else? It was a bunch of them. It was Rob Markman. It was Justin Hunt. It was Jeremy Heck. Shout out to Jeremy Heck, Hip Hop DX. It was what's that producer's name? He works.
Okay, well, we don't interview every single person.
Nonetheless. But I just wanted to shout these people out because I know them. But in any case, their whole conversation was, yes, we want to amplify artists that we really love in the culture, and we want to talk about other things within the culture, but the algorithms make it so that we have to feed the beast.
I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like they have to talk about Drake in their deep dives and their hot takes in order to have the traffic drive into their shit. So it's like we're all slaves to algorithms at this point. You know what I mean? Like we're worried about AI when algorithms are basically running our lives and dictating how we create music, how we feel about ourselves, what shows up on our feed, whether it's Netflix, Instagram, whatever. Like it's all algorithm based.
To harken back to what you were saying, I think a way to like, you know, to not be a slave to the algorithm and to not be a culture vulture, either you're, you know, Post Malone, or if you're just like some super trash artist that doesn't respect the culture, is like just educating yourself in a culture before just stepping into it and taking from it. And I don't expect everyone to do that, but if you are a listener and you're like, man, I don't want to be exploitive, I don't want to be someone that's not respecting the culture, well, what is it like? I mean, I think that's the best thing that you could do. Like,
and it doesn't require much. It's not like we're asking people to be fucking scholars and to sit at the knee of KRS-One in order to be in the culture. It's just like having a cursory awareness of the field, the music, and the people who are in the culture that you are working
and what the values are.
And what the values are. Like when I found out a white dude wrote My Type for Sweetie.
Oh my God.
Like, what are we fucking talking about?
This is the N-word like every 2 seconds?
Right. Like,
That's
this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like he is
Talking
getting
about big
royalty.
dicks and shit.
I mean, what are we talking about, right? Like,
and like A Million Men wrote Woman by Doja Cat. And I don't know if it's the melody. Really, it's hard to tell, but I always look at song credits when I go.
Yeah, no,
Spotify.
I think it's Jadena. Jadena wrote one, or he was one of the co-writers for that. You know what I'm saying?
So it's like hard to say because a writer could be someone that writes a melody or writes the composition.
True.
So you don't know if it's the lyrics, but and I know Doja writes a lot of her lyrics, but I still think a song called Woman should probably have women on the team. But it was like 90% men. Which is fucking crazy.
If it was a pro man song written by you, it'd be crazy.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't know how to do that. I would not. No, it was crazy that everyone would always think that you wrote my shit, and I'm like
I know, that's why like the top. I love the fact that the top song on your album, the song that people are listening to a lot, like based on like what I'm seeing, is
you know what time it is.
You know what time it is, right?
Yeah.
Where you're just saying like, what the chorus is like that you think a man writes my raps, like that's like
just
crazy.
Insane to me. Yeah, it is crazy. Because it's like.
I mean, that's patriarchy for you,
it's
right?
It's
like, that's
so
just
patriarchy because it's like, how crazy could it be that a woman could actually write something that sounds
and has
fire,
an actual brain and like opinions and shit. Yeah,
and she hangs out with this guy that's a really good rapper. So I mean, the only logical explanation is that he writes everything for her, all her pussy raps and stuff about fucking women trauma came from him.
Yikes. Like, I know nothing about women trauma. Trust me. I am the victim of a lot of women trauma.
Well, speaking of trauma.
Oh, that was a great segue.
That's non-women trauma.
There's not a woman in sight in this trauma.
Let's do a little trigger warning for those out there. I was telling Marlon how I really don't like the jarring feeling you get when someone pivots quickly into a topic of conversation that could be very triggering.
I have a love-hate relationship with trigger warning. I think often people say it when it doesn't need it, and then people don't say it when they really need it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a super, what's the word? Just like overused term in general, but a dysregulation, shout out.
Yeah.
Everyone probably at some point has at least glossed over the information around the Menendez trials, but we've been doing a lot of listening and watching, and we have a lot of insight about it. So for those that don't know, the Menendez brothers committed parricide, which is killing of your parents. In 1989.
1989, they killed their parents.
Yes.
They were brought in trial, I think, in 92.
Yeah, they were 18 years old and 21 years old. And their father was the owner of RCA Records.
Or the head of RCA.
The head of
Records.
RCA,
Yeah,
sorry.
He was the head of RCA Records.
And he was a Cuban immigrant.
Yes.
Cuban immigrant. Came here with nothing. Married this like super freaking white lady that was like a, pageant winner type shit,
Beauty pageant winner, yeah.
From the outside, looked like the, perfect American family. Lyle Menendez was going to Princeton. What's the other bro's name? Lyle and Eric.
Eric was
Menendez,
tennis champion.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when obviously that took the took the world by storm when it happened. And people were like, what? Why would these two rich kids shoot their parents point blank, like emptied like 9 rounds into them?
Yes.
And so there was, people that were believing that it was to take, because they wanted their money, they wanted their inheritance, because they went on like an excessive like spending bender, buying cars and staying at some bougie ass Beverly Hills hotel and buying cars and hecka Rolexes and stuff. They eventually get caught because they tell their therapists, and they had actually Eric had written a screenplay that was basically disclosing how you could kill your parents, similar to like OJ writing. If I did it, and we'll get to OJ because he actually plays a little critical role in this story.
Yeah, but like long story less long, like. So in the trial, it's revealed, or they're saying that part of the reason they killed their parents is because they were suffering abuse since they were children at the hands of their father, right? This was sexual abuse
and physical abuse and verbal abuse. But
they were being raped. They were forced to do sex acts on their parents or their father. And if you watch the testimony, or even if you see like the remake movie that they just put on Netflix, it's horrific. It's really like caution yourself, kind of brace yourself for like the testimony and all of that. But they then had a mistrial. The O.J. Simpson trial happened.
Yes.
Where
in between their first trial, which was mistrial, it was 6-6. Like the jury were.
They were just at a deadlock. They couldn't change their decisions or opinions.
And just to know, it was for sure they were murdered, but it was between first degree murder and manslaughter.
Yeah.
And so the O.J. trial happened.
Yes, where O.J. is found not guilty. County of LA has spent millions upon millions of dollars trying that case. So when it comes to the second trial for the Menendez brothers, LA County and LADA office is going for blood. They're saying we cannot lose this. So they made it so that most of the things that were happening or given in the first trial were inadmissible.
Yeah.
The sexual abuse was inadmissible. All these other witnesses that could attest to the sexual abuse were inadmissible. Just a lot of things were inadmissible. And subsequently they were convicted and they were considered guilty and serving life in jail without the possibility of parole.
Separate prisons.
And now people like Kim Kardashian and others are actively advocating for their release upon the founding of new evidence that came out in a Peacock documentary.
Yes. Okay. So this is so crazy. And I promise we're getting to a deep dive. We just need to set the foundation. So what is his name though? Menendez, the father. Jose Menendez. Thank you. So yes. Jose Menendez, the head of RCA, he ended up signing Menudo, which is a Puerto Rican kids band or boy band, similar to like NSYNC, but it's children. And once you reach a certain age, you kind of transition out, and so it's always like different kids are in the band, and they're like a complete sensation. Like people are super obsessed with these kids. They end up going to New York and doing shows, and like they have like super fans. Like there was like 8 people injured at their show in New York from just fainting and passing out and like being crazy, like complete hysteria, similar to the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
But as we're finding out, whenever there's children in showbiz, there's often creep-ass motherfucking pedophiles that deserve to have their fucking testicles chopped off.
So it was alleged that Jose Menendez, the father of Eric and Lyle Menendez, who is the head of RCA Records, raped at least one member of the group Menudo.
But let's go back further.
Yes.
Like, so the founder of Menudo, Edgardo...
Not Reyes. Yeah.
Here, look it up on your phone. So he's the founder, and he's regarded as a genius because this is like he's has so much power in Puerto Rico because of Menudo, this band. Like he has the cops in his pocket, he has politicians in his pocket, he has the media and the press in his pocket.
Edgardo Diaz.
Thank you, Edgardo Diaz. So this documentary really follows the story of oh my gosh, I wish I remembered everyone's freaking name. What's his name? the one that we follow in it.
I'll have to pull it up.
Okay, so he basically, there's one member of Menudo that comes forward and has like all this horrendous testimony that the founder of Menudo had been, like sexually abusing him for years. And it's similar to a lot of the stuff that Eric and Lyle Menendez were experiencing with their father. So when Menendez I can't remember all these fucking names.
Jose. You can't like we're rehashing the whole story.
I know because it's important. So when Jose Menendez signs Menudo to RCA, he gives that kid from Menudo a glass of wine with a drug in it and is like, you're about to do something, you know, for the group. Like, you're about to basically like take one for the team. He fucking drinks it, whatever, and is abused, and like it's horrible. And he's now like 30 years later, you know, 35 years later, after like wanting to kill himself and like, you know, obviously being super traumatized and messed up as a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid, being sexually abused his, you know, entire young childhood. Went to Brazil, became a priest, you know, went to God, and now like come back and is trying to get together enough evidence to like retry the case. And we obviously haven't finished the entire thing, but when we were watching it, there was a lot of things that were coming up as far as like insights. And number one is that to be a pedophile, you have to be so freaking ambitious. You have to like start entire boy bands.
Explain this. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's so crazy. It's like, because it's almost like a serial killer, you know, type of vibe.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday as we were watching it, and it was, I mean, it really boiled down to sexual repression.
Yeah. Well, the reason why
homosexuality and
it's homophobia and sexual. I mean, Puerto Rico and a lot of Latin countries, or all of them, are like super homophobic, you know. And so suffice it to say, like, you can, I mean, and even if you look at like a lot of the folks that are getting, you know, exposed now more recently for, you know, pedophilia, R. Kelly and whatnot, it's because there was probably a history of abuse. So it's very cyclical, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that you have to go to children is because you probably are gay, and the only way you're able to express yourself freely in a culture that is extremely homophobic is to, you know, try to rope in kids that will keep secrets for you, that won't tell anyone, that no one will believe.
Yes.
Especially if you're someone that has a lot of power. So I just was like noticing, like, yo, for R. Kelly, you know, to get his rocks off, he had to be like the freaking...
He called himself the Pied Piper of R&B.
Yeah, right. Exactly. like you had to be that in order to marry Aaliyah and be a freaking pedophilic rapist. Yeah. You know? Or in order to be... oh my God. The Edgardo... Oh, shh. Edgardo of Menudo had to create a whole boy band and a whole like creepy ass infrastructure where like there was only 5 kids in the band. So 2, when they were on tour, each kid's room with one other one, except for there was a 5th kid. So where was he gonna room? It's like he's gonna room with Edgardo.
He was sleeping. Yeah, he was sleeping with the little boys in the group. He was repeatedly abusing them, raping them, doing all types of wild, fucked up, crazy things to them. Shit. And then RCA, through Jose Menendez, pays $30 million to sign this group. And it just makes you think, like, both these men had a sickness, obviously. They're both raping kids. One is raping his own children.
Right. Sick as fuck.
And it's like, you spent this money so that you have access to little boys. Yeah. Like, that's the most sickening thing.
And then
about
it really just
shit.
Makes you feel like all the shit that people have been coming out with saying over the fucking
I know, like
years,
Pizzagate
and all that. And we're like, okay, crazy people. Like, this is conspiracy, clearly. And it's like, okay, maybe it's really
Epstein, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, and it's technically trafficking one way or another. It's 100% trafficking if you're signing these children to bring them into the States and then rape them.
Right. And then it was just so crazy that you have like the police in your pocket and politicians in your pocket, because it's like,
I know, because we had that one dude who was like selling Menudo memorabilia.
Yeah. He was also a journalist, and he got wind of the abuse, you know, accusations, that's what the word was for. And so he did his own investigation because he was already a journalist, right? And he started speaking directly with the victims, and he would ask them, like, you know, show me who has been abused and show me who did the abusing. And the kids pointed out like 9 Menudo members or something like that. And so then he was like, all right, that's enough for me. So he went and exposed it. So when he exposed it, they were like, well, how do you know? He's like, well, if you're asking if I have photo or video evidence, I don't, but I have testimony. But the kids were afraid. They didn't want them to go forward. Obviously, they've been threatened and whatnot. So then he goes on this, on Christina, like multiple times, this big talk show.
And for those who don't know, Christina was like the talk show in the 90s or in the 80s. In Latin America.
Yes. So he's saying, like Edgardo Menudo is a sexual predator. He's a pedophile. He's abusing these kids. And then lo and behold, the police come. And the police come, and they're like, and then there's a bunch of lawyers in the audience, and they're like, what, you can't, this is a breach of the, you know, your freedom of speech. Like, he's allowed to say stuff, you can't arrest him. And they're like, oh no, we weren't gonna arrest him, we were just gonna like summon him, give him a summon. And they're like, okay, give us the summons. And they're like, oh, we don't have it, we gotta draft it. I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Next day, the cops come again to him, they give him the summons, so him and his lawyer go to the police station to, you know, answer it, and then they never show up. So he's like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna leave. He leaves, and then they show up and take photos so that they could say that he was fleeing the scene, and they arrest him. And they're like, the only way for you to like get out of this arrest is to make a statement saying that like what you did was false, and, you know, write a 2-page article in the paper saying that this is not true. So then the kids that he was defending, that he was trying to advocate for, they reach out to him and they say, thank you so much for standing up for us, but please please drop this, and please don't mention our names. Like, you basically just got dragged. Imagine what they'll do to us kids. So these kids who just lived in fear. So it's just really crazy to see like how deep it goes, you know?
I mean, just the entire cabal of it, really.
It is,
I mean, when you think about wealth, the world of entertainment, access to children, leveraging
and the fucking shitty moms,
and the shitty moms,
fucking shitty moms,
leveraging the vulnerability and the desperation, not only of the children particularly, but the family, to your point, right? These are impoverished people who are looking for an opportunity to kind of just level up in their lives, and that's being exploited by people who want to fuck their kids.
Yeah, and it's just like, dude, these
Like,
moms are
it's really
like,
nuts.
oh, I'm by myself. I have to raise these kids. So, you know, if my fucking child has to join this fucking rape cult so that we can live in a nice house, like, what am I? I fucking hate that shit. Don't be a shitty ass fucking pity me mom, okay? You're supposed to put your kid first. It doesn't matter if you're fucking broke as fuck. How, like, that shit almost infuriated me the most, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
Because that's just like disgraceful to be like knowing, you know, just like the mom of Eric and Lyle Menendez. That's why they shot her in the fucking face, because she fucking knew.
Yeah.
How could you not know that shit? But because you have your own interests, right? You want to have the security and the wealth and whatever, that you're willing to put your kids through that. Like, nah, you need to fucking burn in the deepest depths of hell. Like, kids have no rights, you know, just really at the end of the day, it's super fucking sad. And like, I connect it all back to what we started at the beginning of this pod. It's like, we see kids and we hear from them their testimony. And I've heard shit like this from kids in my classrooms. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's hard for me not to be enraged, because it's like, no one's out here protecting these fucking kids, because everyone is so fucking greedy.
Yeah,
so
it's,
fucking greedy.
You know, and it's cyclical also. Like, you know what I'm saying? The people in many cases who do the abusing have been abused, and there's really we haven't perfected the model of like getting to a space where people can be held accountable.
Well, at what point do you hold them accountable? I mean, I'm like, yo, once you in your 30s, you need to be held accountable. Yeah. I can't let your shit that happened to you when you were a kid justify your shitty behavior in your 30s. That means you didn't do anything.
Right.
And a lot of times I see people all the time be like, you know, well, it's like, no, I hear, I can sympathize with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that doesn't give you the right to be fucking crazy, harmful, shitty, abusive to other people. At some point, you have to break the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, but very few people break the cycle. That's why they're cycles.
I mean, I'm coming from a place of someone who's been through a lot of this shit.
No, 100,
you know?
and I totally understand that. But it's also important to note that not everybody has the same access to resources, awareness of resources. It's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's I can imagine that it's a world where you may not know.
And don't
exactly
fucking have
how
kids.
To
like,
approach it. You know
and don't fucking have kids if you're gonna just.
Well, I'm not talking about the parents. You're 100% right about the parents. I'm talking about people who may have been abused, who then continue the abuse on somebody else.
Yeah, and I mean, it
you know
depends on
like,
the severity of it. You know,
oh,
what I'm
it's
saying?
always
like,
based on the
depends.
severity of it, right? You know what I'm saying? And there are people who do come to the realization that something very fucked up happened to them, and they go on the path to healing. And then there are other people who are completely shattered and broken by it. And they find ways to perpetuate the abuse through they could be a little league coach. They could be a soccer coach. They could be a fucking priest. Like they find themselves. I mean, the trainer for the girls in the Olympics or the gymnastics team.
But that's why that's
you know
what's so
like,
crazy is they
really
find
crazy.
areas where they could just get away with that shit.
Jared from fucking Subway.
yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yo.
Like they just find these ways to have access to kids, which as somebody who works with kids all the time, it's like one of the number one things I think about all the time. Like somebody in these spaces that I'm navigating in is fucking around with these kids.
Yeah.
Like it's just, you know what I'm saying? It's something to be very cautious of. And this is why in most cases where we get contracts to work in schools, we become mandated reporters. And you know what I'm saying? And if you know anybody who's been you know what I'm saying? If you know anybody who's been a victim to abuse, there are outlets, there are resources out there to help them and to really just call people to accountability, right? And get them arrested if you know somebody perpetuating the crime, if you know a victim of the crime, like, you know.
That's the thing. It's like people don't want to get in the mess. Like I understand that too, but it's like sometimes it just has to.
Nah, you got to stand on business at a certain point. These are fucking children.
Yeah.
Like it's like, you know what I'm saying? At a certain point, you just got to stand on business and say, no, this is wrong.
But then you see like the opposite spectrum is what we were also talking about is a lot of victims actually end up turning to God, and that's what been the other super interesting thing.
Yes.
So like this kid who was a victim, who's obviously a grown adult now, who's like this whole documentary is centered around, you know, like I said, he left Menudo, he actually got kicked out, went to Brazil, became a priest for like years and years and years. But then I'm starting to look at like Mace and Craig Mack,
Loon, Shine,
all of who
were signed to Diddy. All of them were signed to Bad Boy
left
Records.
the rap game and
went to God. Yes,
and it just makes me kind of draw parallels there.
Yeah,
when you turn to God and you leave that whole life behind, it's telling you something. And the reason, like, I for one am not I have a lot of issues with dogma.
I mean, let's call it out. Like there's spirituality and then there's religion.
Yeah.
I, as somebody who used to be very religious, am very. I'm bothered by the dogmatic aspect of religion.
Yeah.
I'm so bothered by it.
The rigid nature of it.
Not only just the rigid nature of it, but the gross misinterpretation of spirituality. Mm-hmm. And how it is used and exploited to control people. Right? So I think, like, for me, the juxtaposition is very awkward because on one hand, you have these people who have seen and experienced very demonic things.
Yeah.
And because of that and because of whatever their understanding of spirituality is, they run to religion. Mm-hmm. And in most cases, they run to a very, not necessarily orthodox,
like evangelical,
a formal, like one of these formal, very dogmatic religions. Strict, like, so you're going from one form of brainwashing and control to another form of brainwashing and control. And I think it's even more insidious because this side of brainwashing and control promises some level of salvation and redemption.
But to your point of what you were saying yesterday too, is that like this is demon manifested and materialized.
Yes,
in the
100%.
In the most literal sense.
Yeah.
Because what is happening is you are using and exploiting kids and promising them, hey, you want to be famous? Mm-hmm. Hey, your family needs you. If you tell anyone what I'm doing, you're going to have to do this. Everyone needs you to do this. And if you tell anyone, then we'll come and we'll kill you. Like, there's no worse form.
I mean,
there's nothing more evil in the world.
We've seen it like time and again when you watch like movies, TV shows.
Your favorite movie,
Devil's Advocate, 100%. It's the same thing. It's time and again.
Less horrible to me.
But you see it. Like it's passed off in pop culture as like just kind of like a narrative that we just watch and are entertained by, without really taking into account how very real it is to literally sign your soul away.
And that's what
people are doing.
And so then what you're doing when you just want to be safe.
Yes.
So you go to the exact opposite. And so I can totally understand people turning to like the most religious, restrictive, form of spirituality that there is, right? Because it's like you just need someone to tell you what to do and how to do it to make sense of everything again and to feel safe and secure.
Yeah. When
you have been let down by the people in your life who are supposed to protect you the most. So I can totally understand that, but I think it's just interesting if you just see people leave everything behind and turn to God. I'm not saying that's everybody, but I'm saying
it speaks volumes.
Interesting pattern.
It totally speaks volumes in terms of just particular people You know what I'm saying? Who I think people know who we're talking about. But aside from that, just institutions in general, right? Just like certain institutions, the entertainment industry is a very dark space.
It is.
And even as people who like, we're in the entertainment industry.
That's
and we're
the
not,
craziest
like,
thing is that artists are the most vulnerable people.
Yes.
Oh my God. Artists are so vulnerable, and that's why they're so easy to exploit.
Yes.
Because they're literally sitting there like real artists. The opposite of what you just talked about is people that go into the culture and just are like, oh, I can just make money. I don't even like music.
Yeah.
Real artists, like, they just want to open themselves up to the world and share their emotions with everyone. And then people come along and are like, let me see what I can do. Let me crawl inside of you and take advantage of you.
Exactly.
Because
you're
you're like,
all the things. I always say, I have conversations with my friend Steph Reed all the time, and I tell him at least once a month, I say the devil don't come to you with what you hate. The devil comes to you with what you love. And that's the
good.
trick.
I like that.
That's the trick. I've been saying it for years, right? Because it's too obvious for somebody who's considered evil to come to you with evil.
Oh yeah, come on,
It's
bedazzled. They're gonna come to you looking fine as fuck in a red Corvette.
Exactly, it's a lot more insidious for them to come
Hurley.
with all the bells and whistles and the tinsel of this society that you are transfixed by.
If it's too good to be true, then it's bad.
100%.
It always is.
There
and
is
I've had
always
that
a
happen
cost.
to me a million times.
There's always a cost to it.
It's always hard work to get to the good.
Yeah.
Working on yourself, opening doors that you don't want to open, working towards a goal. It's always hard to get to the good.
Yeah.
And sorry, that's just the reality.
Yeah.
It's never easy.
There's no shortcuts in anything. Personal growth, music industry shit.
Also, like people that are like dying inside, and so they think the solution is to have kids. It's the worst thing you can fucking do. The worst thing.
Like you're dying, so you want to bring something else into this world.
To like pour like or like people that are fucked up and they get a pet. I was listening to this on NPR today too. So they just basically transfer
comfort animals.
Transfer all their fucked up emotions to the dogs and animals as if like they don't feel that shit.
Right.
And they do. Like, there's no one that can take your shit from you.
No.
You have to go through it and learn to live with it, and it becomes easier and easier.
Or release it. Like learn how develop the skills to release it.
But you can't just you can transfer it to others, but that's something.
That's called generational trauma. All right, I think we're done for the doom and gloom.
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk doom
all.
and gloom, but it's not.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever fucking stepped away because they weren't ready for all that shit, and also we talk about it like with. For me, I've been angry about this shit forever. There's certain shit that gets me angry. The monkey documentary, the
what monkey?
Remember the woman who had all of the.
What was it called? There's a documentary on HBO about this woman who sells chimpanzees.
Sorry, chimpanzees.
Yeah, and how one of the chimpanzees that she sold killed its owner. It was just really
not the
weird.
owner. The owner's friend ripped his face off and fucked him
really
up.
Crazy.
But I was so fucking angry for the chimps because it's like, oh, you think you can just sell them and make them?
I know she's like a drug dealer, but with animals.
And that shit got me so. And that woman didn't even she was. Yeah, there's certain things that get me so angry. So I hope you don't mistake us talking about this kind of I don't know, being able to talk about this without showing too much emotion or vulnerability. But
I think you covered it good. It's not like we're laughing at the trauma.
No,
just, you know what I mean? It's just,
I think it's, something.
At a certain point, you got to laugh to hide the tears of it. You just realize, this world is really fucked up in a lot of different ways. You know what I'm saying?
And I just think you need to know. That's really, at the end of the day, I just know so many people that can't handle anything dark. For me, I can't handle dark shit before I go to bed. I will not. I need to watch some bullshitty things because I'll fucking have nightmares forever.
Yeah.
But I think to just live your life insulated and everything is good. No, it's irresponsible.
Right.
So I think it's just.
You need to be aware of it. Yeah. Just watch out for the creeps and the weirdos.
There's so much of them. They're everywhere. Okay, but anyway, right, so.
Moving along.
This is not really important at all, but let's talk about it.
Yeah. We need some levity.
Cars, people.
Self-driving cars, you have a beef with them. Go.
They're fucking crazy. We was just driving Shout out Hana. We were driving from my So Far show, and there was this car next to me, and it had all the propellers and shits on them. I swear to God, I thought it was one of those like Google Earth cars that's like
that's like scanning the highway and shit, and
it was taking hella long. It was like stopping for a full 5 seconds. I'm like, come on, it's the city. Like no one even stops for a full second. Like what are you doing? Like does it take that long to scan?
They're obeying the law.
Yeah, bullshit. No human would really do that. No human obeys the traffic laws. I hate when people stop for a full 5 seconds. Like, that's insane. Or, like, 2 seconds. Like, is there someone there? No. Roll through that bitch. Like, yeah. So, I realized, I'm like, and then I started seeing them everywhere. I'm like, yo, there's no humans in them.
Yeah.
They're just driving around. Like,
and even when there are humans in there, they're only there as like a safeguard. They're not there to drive the car.
Yeah, that's
right.
Wild.
Shout out to Carl. Carl, he was one of my students who he was on my album. He played keys and all that. His job was to sit in the car and just let it drive itself. And if anything happened,
I would never do it. I would never.
You're scared of sharks, robots, and windows rolling.
This is gonna be part of a game.
Okay.
Damn.
Oh yes. We'll get into that in a little bit.
But no, it's like iRobot. It's for sure iRobot.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, we grew up having been already pre-programmed from sci-fi movies to see all of the things that we're seeing now. Right? Like,
was I recently like
self-driving cars. We don't have flying cars yet. We will though.
Oh
right?
yeah, the Jetsons thought we was gonna have that like by the year 2000.
Robot butlers, all of that shit is here now, right? Like when you go to LA, you see the little robots in the streets on Melrose delivering
like
shit.
That's just
you know what I'm saying? Like I went to one event. It was like a STEAM event for kids, and they had the little robot dog that was running around and like we're in.
How about save one of the many like fucking dogs running around fucking Mexico right now?
There's a lot of street dogs.
Instead of making fucking $1 billion bicentennial dogs. God.
Now, if somebody abuses a robot dog, how are you feeling about it?
I feel that it's fucked up.
Okay.
I feel that it's fucked up.
Okay.
I feel that it's fucked up to create a robot so you can abuse it. I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it can think for itself.
Right.
Like, who was talking shit to a robot recently? It's like if it's nice and playful, but if you're literally just having a robot there, just be like, fuck you, you stupid bitch. I'm like, you're scary.
Now, let me ask you this. This is a complete hypothetical. If robots were developed as a means of human beings purging whatever their urges are, as a means of...
They already exist.
Yeah, exactly.
They already exist.
But I'm talking about robots, like an actual built robot that has programming within it, not just a video game that you can remove yourself from a screen. If the robots were built specifically for that, would you feel the same way?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't, you just like, it's Westworld, right?
Yeah.
You've seen it happen that's not a fucking real movie, obviously it's science fiction, but to me it's like if you're creating this, if you fantasize about killing shit,
right,
giving you the space to kill shit with impunity because it's not a real human, to me isn't helping you. It's not like, I got it out of my system.
No, it's actually training you to want to do it in real life.
Right.
Right? Like, it's like one of the signs of psychopathy or like serial killers is that they kill animals when they're kids.
Which to me is
because they're practicing. You know what I'm saying? And like, even in the case of people like Jeffrey Dahmer, like all of his crimes were him practicing towards what it is that he wanted, which was an autonomous zombie-like person to have sex with.
Yeah.
That was his entire like goal and objective.
Let's not keep going back down the
Which is why you're anti-technology. And I want to get into like fucking the Unabomber and all types of other shit. Yeah.
So I am. It's interesting because I love science fiction.
Yeah.
But I do want a revolution against technology. So you watched a documentary on the Unabomber, and I started reading his manifesto.
Yeah.
And I had always thought, I had not really known much
I didn't
about
know
the Unabomber.
shit about the Unabomber.
Yeah.
All I knew is that they caught him, that he wore these cool glasses and a hoodie. That's to the extent of my knowledge. So I throw on this documentary. I think it was on Netflix. And they're chronicling like over the course of maybe 30 years, he was just blowing up buildings. But before that, he was literally a genius. He went into Harvard at 16 years old. He was groomed to one extent or another by the CIA. And he then just completely started like having a psychological break and went rogue and went to be a hermit. And he lived in the woods in a shack and he would be sending these manifestos and these pipe bombs to various college campuses and technology offices and things of that nature. And then he finally starts killing people, which gets the FBI really involved and starting to investigate. And then from there, he starts to write these manifestos. What's so crazy about his manifesto is that his manifesto is staunch anti-technology and basically starts with the premise that technology is ruining humanity and ruining the earth. And a lot of the people who they had in the documentary reading the manifesto couldn't disagree with anything he was saying. Now, you have read part of the manifesto. What is your take on the Unabomber's manifesto?
I mean, obviously, I don't want innocent people to die.
100%.
I hate villainous people, and I would like them to die. Bombing of cruise ships. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Bombing of cruise ships?
Bill Burr has this joke that I always resonated with.
Oh, that there's too many people on Earth and you should put stupid people on cruise ships and kill them?
Okay, I don't think I'm like I'm actually like a hyper empathetic fucking person, but I'm very aligned with the
only
Unabomber.
Animals.
Just me and the dogs and the trees and the children.
The dog queen. Gladiator mice.
I hate evil people. Like, it makes me angry. Like, I hate people that don't give a fuck about anything. Like, and honestly, like he wants a revolution,
right?
And it made me think about so much. He's like, there will never he was criticizing the left, right? And he was like, the left care about racial issues, sexist issues, social justice issues, but like the left are the problem, because anytime someone ever would propose what like is truly damaging, the leftists just absorb it, and it basically doesn't end up doing shit. It's really difficult to understand, and I'm still trying to understand it. He's basically saying, like, unless there's a fall of technology,
yes,
there will be a fallout from that.
Yes.
But it's the only way to save the planet.
Yes.
And what and oh my god, I lost my train of thought too.
Robots. Where did robots come from? No, anti-technology, unless there's a revolution, unless there's a...
Okay, yes. And it made me think about, what we were talking about, and I'm so sorry, I'm so bad with names, but the creator of the Boondocks...
Aaron Magruder.
Yeah. So sorry. About him talking about how, like, there was kids from Cuba or people from Cuba saying, like, what? Your country's fucked up. Why is there no revolution?
Yeah. We said that last week.
And right. I'm hearkening back to that. So it's like, it made me think of, like, even though we are aware that he can say it a million times that technology is going to lead to the collapse of the fucking planet, but we're comfortable, we're sedated, we don't care. Technology makes our lives easier, so we're not going to fucking do anything until it's fucking doomsday and time's fucking up.
I mean, it's already doomsday, right? Like
but people don't want to think
about it.
The
literal doomsday clock is 1 minute to midnight. For those who don't know, there's an actual clock that governments use. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
That governments use to determine the level of threat against humanity. And 12 o'clock it's fucking lights out. They have all agreed that we are literally 1 minute to midnight. I'm actually going to write a song about it for my next album.
Ooh,
so that. 1 minute to midnight. That's where we are in terms of nuclear war threat, global warming, genocide, catastrophe, like just all the threats to mankind.
It reminds me of a really dope episode in Love, Death, and Robots.
Yes,
if you haven't seen it,
Death, and Robots.
I forget what it's called, but it's basically like these 3 robots are going on a vacation.
Like a vacation, yeah.
Yeah, and they're looking at like, it's kind of, it reminded me, I went to go to Pompeii, and you're seeing like the desolation of Pompeii, but you can still see people, just like
frozen in time,
like Han Solo, and stuff. And it was like that, but for humans. And they were talking about that, like, so how did they all, get wiped out and extinct? Was it nuclear warfare? And they were like, no, actually, they did it to themselves. They, global warming and toxic food, and it's just all this stuff. And so I don't know, for me it makes you feel helpless, you know what I'm saying? And so I get it, it's really gloom and doom, it really is, but again, positive light at the end of the tunnel. I firmly believe that there are powerful things that we could do. I'm gonna make an album, and it's gonna be all about like revolution, and not the way that y'all fucking fake woke social justice warrior wannabe fucking people that need it for your identity because you don't know who the fuck you are. Say
bingo.
Revolution. I do. I'm gonna do it, and it's gonna be like, I'm going to study the writer of The Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, who is very similar to Unabomber. I'm going to see if I can get an interview with the Unabomber himself. I'm going to do like hella fucking research. I'm going to write a screenplay, and I'm going to make my album that's going to be a soundtrack to the screenplay, and it's going to be all about like trying to inspire and motivate people in every fucking way possible to let go of technology and to connect back to nature and humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, I think hard, but I'm gonna try.
I think that's what like there are certain aspects of the UN that have kind of spoken about it, and when people bring it out to like a larger audience, they're usually on the opposite side of those policies and those initiatives because they claim to be pro humanity. I've seen a lot of this, like Alex Jones and people like that, who they frame institutions like the United Nations as like a death cult that really just wants to kill people. Right? As opposed to, no, we are trying to create policies that make life on Earth a lot more sustainable. And what we're ultimately talking about when we talk about this conflict that human beings have with technology is collectivism versus individualism and capitalism, right? Like that's traditionally human beings are collectivists. You go back to Africa, you go back to any Eastern, Asian.
Give a fuck about the tribe.
It's about what's good for the whole. And we lost that in Western civilization where it's very individualist. So now we're in a space in humanity where individualism is preferred to collectivism. We're not willing to yield or give up the privileges of our individualism for the greater good of the whole.
You know why? Because we're conditioned to be rewarded through likes, which is an individualist.
Well,
thing. Let me
okay.
Because it's like, look, if you no longer like collectivist cultures, right? Like they don't necessarily need the recognition. They just want they're happy when everyone is happy. Whereas we are now programmed to need individual validation constantly. Yeah. We're addicted. Like I know motherfuckers that are addicted to going viral. I know motherfuckers are addicted to getting likes. Like they're addicted to their phone comments, and that's an individualist thing.
No, 100. I mean, social media has all made us messiahs of our own making.
Right.
Like that's of the problem. Which is, I mean, not to be religious about it, but when you look at the Bible, it says that before the end of time, there's going to be many false Christs.
Yeah.
They talk about the Antichrist, and that's basically what it is. We are all false messiahs of our own making because we are creating cults of personality. We're in cults of personality, whether it's us or somebody else we like or whatever the case is. And nobody is thinking about the collective whole. And if you have to make a choice between what's for the greater good and what's for the individual, 9 times out of 10, people are picking the individual. They're picking themselves, right? Even in Islamic, like, there's a whole thing about in Arabic they say nafsi nafsi. Nafsi is the ego. It's literally the ego, and they say at the end of days or the apocalypse, everyone is going to be nafsi nafsi, and that's where we are. We are in the era of nafsi nafsi. It's an era of our ego versus what's good for everybody else and what's good for all of us. Even when we went to Taiwan, right? Shout out to David. He was like our tour guide. He was saying that there's no word in Mandarin for individual happiness.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's no word because it's a collectivist society.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And for years, we in the West have maligned and demonized collectivist society, starting with communism, right? Because that was the big boogeyman since World War II.
Such fucking bullshit.
Right? And then it's like, and then because outside of Russia and China, there's no real communist thing that's actually worked that wasn't a dictator that was killing people. So we look at that as like,
idea of communism,
the idea of socialism and collectivism is actually helping. Like that's what it is.
They used them.
It's why individualism is why y'all don't have fucking healthcare. Individualism is why our basic needs, right? It's why our basic needs as human beings are not met because
it's literally all the shit that people want, like all the fucking working class in America are fucking struggling and voting for dumbass fucking Trump
against their own interests.
Right. When it's like, oh, you hate Europe and socialism when literally you would have fucking healthcare, education.
Like you'd live longer, you'd be happier.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
go to Europe. They're fucking
they're taking
chilling.
siestas and fucking beaches and shit. Like, it's like
they upset about the taxes.
Exactly. Sure. And then further to that, our society makes it so that you have to compete with each other. Everything is American Idol. Fucking, they're doing a new season of that rapper show that not Rhyme and Reason, whatever the fucking
Rhythm and Flow. Like everything is competition. I mean, I want to see it, but I do too.
But everything is competition based. You have to get a good job, to be at the top of your class. Like all the things that we value in this society means that you get at the expense of others. And we are in this kind of cult of understanding as Westerners that we get all these privileges, we get our freedoms or quote unquote freedoms, not recognizing that the lives we live, for better or for worse, are coming at the expense of other people. Right? Our poor people in our country, as destitute as they are nothing in comparison to the most of the country or the most of the world that is living on $2 a day.
Malawi.
Have you told them Malawi? We got to tell them Malawi.
I can't.
Hopefully we can get to the Malawi story. Maybe we'll have Mecca on. He could tell us about his travels.
Oh, that would
be dope. Shout out to my man Mecca. All right. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, well,
we went on our technology deep dive.
We pretty much at time. Do you want to get into the Kentucky Derby or whatever the fuck you want to talk
Kentucky
about?
Derby.
I don't know. You got something on that.
Oh, no, just real quick. So I was listening to KQED and they had this.
He loves KQED.
Of course.
KQED sponsor us, maybe.
Please. I mean, they're a nonprofit. We need to just have takeover, like Family Not a Group. Like,
hey, shout out Family Not a Group.
Exactly. So I was listening to KQED and they were talking about this story in Kentucky. How, people who are organ donors, they put it on their license. So if an accident happens, you're rushed to the hospital. They can see from your license if you're an organ donor. Me personally, I've never put it because what that does for institutions like hospitals, in case of an accident,
they won't save you because
they will disincentivize saving you because you've already said you're going to give your organs to whoever.
Take my organs.
You know what I'm saying? So people love you and care for you. They may not want your organs to go. Anyway, moving forward. So they found this person who was an organ donor. The person was brain dead. No response, no function. And as they were doing the surgery to take their organs, the person on the table started moving and writhing in pain. And they could see the tears coming out of the person's eyes. And the person kept on moving as they were doing the surgery. So it got to a point where nobody wanted to touch the body. And there were hospital administrative staff saying, no, you have to. And then everybody.
Why would you have to?
But that's because they were saying because they had a donor. They had somebody who needed the organs.
Okay, but they don't belong to them.
But that's what I'm saying. But you have these donor lists. So you're at the top of the list. That means that somebody dies.
Because they paid for
you're
it, right?
first in line. I don't know how it works, but
seems
I mean,
like some sort of scam
there's
happening.
nothing in America that's not a racket. I used to have a website called It's All a Hustle, which just basically break down all the fucking scams that America has.
The name of this too. It's all a racket. Actually, we're just gonna have a segment where it's
all a racket. So it just made me think about hospitals can be organ thieves in one way or another, because here's somebody who obviously, regardless of them being brain dead, is suffering at the expense of them trying to give an organ to another person. So all these people, I think lawsuits were passed, people quit. It was just a really intense. The person
ended up dying?
I mean, yeah, they ended up dying, because they took the organs. Eventually, they got another doctor to come and fulfill the surgery, but they were just like, yo, that shouldn't have happened. That should have never happened, even though the person was considered brain dead. So it just created all these ethical conversations around that. It was just really interesting when I'm listening to it, because it's
nightmare.
Really crazy.
Oh
but
my God.
In any case,
I thought it was gonna be funny.
This was not
Kentucky
a funny
Derby?
pod. This was a very gloom and doom pod.
Let's turn it up.
Kentucky Derby. There's nothing that says Derby on that board.
I know. I just saw Kentucky. No,
right.
We started positive and then took a dark route.
Yes, it did.
We promise we'll balance it out a little more.
Yeah.
We promise. We can't help it. Okay, we're out here constantly like, what is going on with the world? What the fuck? Okay, well, we're gonna end it with something funny. I have something in my eye and it hurts, but I'm gonna try to look up, and I'm hot as fuck. It's so fucking hot.
So hot in here.
Like, you guys are lucky we don't have the fan on for your listening pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Budden was saying that everyone out here has fucking trash audio experiences because we don't have parks.
I'm hoping that we get an engineer soon.
Okay.
But
anyways,
sounds good.
So we're gonna play a game.
Yes.
And it's gonna be for the audience to see if they can guess. But you're also gonna guess too.
Yes.
Okay. So this is Love or Hate with Lil MC. Love or hate.
What is the point of the game?
You're gonna guess if I love this or if I hate this.
Got it.
Okay. Ready?
Go.
Spiders.
You love them.
Robots.
You hate them.
Snakes.
Love them.
Sharks.
Hate them.
Rocky Road ice cream.
Love it.
Pumpkin flavored things.
Love it.
Newsy hats.
Love them.
Accents.
Love them.
Reality shows.
Love them. No, hate. 90 Day
I'm
Fiance.
not watching 90 Day Fiance. Clubbing.
Hate it.
Bowling.
Hate it.
Meerkats.
Love.
Muskrats.
Love.
Tobey Maguire.
Hate.
Matilda.
Love.
Slippers.
Love.
Crocs.
Hate.
Okay, you got not all of those right.
What am I getting? 1,000 lashings because of it? What the fuck?
Oh my God.
I'm like at least 90%.
Okay, so do you want to know the answers? Spiders, I love. Robots, I hate. Duh. Snakes, I love. Sharks, I don't hate, but they scare me. I don't love them either. Rocky Road ice cream, I hate. It's like the worst ice cream.
Wait a minute. So there's a third answer that you didn't give me the option of choosing, and that's how I got it wrong?
I decided as I was reading.
This is some fucking bullshit. What are you talking about?
Whatever.
You didn't want me to be 100% right.
No, you were already wrong.
Nah.
I hate Rocky Road ice cream, and you said love.
Okay.
Pumpkin flavored things, love. Newsy hats, love. Accents, love. Reality shows, hate. Unless it's America's Next Top Model. But I meant more like Bravo reality shows, hate. Clubbing, I hate clubs. Unless I'm performing and I get the fuck out of there, I fucking hate those things. Bowling, hate. Meerkats, love. Muskrats, no. Muskrats are bad. Meerkats are good. Yeah.
All right.
Tobey Maguire, hate.
What's
Matilda,
the percentage
love.
from the field?
Okay, you got 2 wrong out of however many that was.
Count it. I want to know the percentage.
Well, I'm not a mathematician.
Well, just tell me how many
What the fuck
questions was there.
Hey, we haven't heard any sound effects, by the way. Damn, we should have put a sound effect on when we started the game.
Damn.
It's okay. Okay. Well, I'll give you the... Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so you got 15 out of 17. 15 divided by 17. You got 88%.
Stop talking, man. Come on, stop playing with me.
Stop
playing with me. That's 88%.
Okay, let me do
And you're
you-
gonna give me grief?
Let me
And you started changing the rules in the middle of the game?
I gave you
Get
sharks.
the fuck outta
I gave
here.
you sharks.
All right, yo.
All right, you do yours now.
Huh?
Okay, let me guess.
I didn't even write anything down.
Farrakhan.
No, we're gonna
love.
get.
Shel
And that's
Silverstein.
our episode
Love.
for this week. We'll do mine next week. Ratchet and Woke. Check us out. All streaming platforms, YouTube as well. Check out the video. Follow us on Instagram, Ratchet and Woke. You can also, Ratchet and Woke Podcast is the Instagram. You can also email us questions, topics, things that you want us to talk about. Ratchet and Woke Podcast at gmail.com.
Ooh,
Yeah.
nudes. Just saying don't.
Please don't.
No, don't.
Please don't.
Don't.
But yeah,
Or
Unlearn the
you
World.
will go in poppycocks.
We'll talk about Poppycops next week too. Unlearn the World, Lil MC. You already know what it is.
Know
Thank
the
you.
vibes.
We'll see you next week.
Hey.
Yes.
Exit theme song. We don't have
We
one yet.
need to come up with one. We will.
Big ass titties. Big ass titties. Katie has